if you looked at your classroom as an opportunity for you to provide optimal conditions with which you connected with participants and how they connected with each other? Because breaking down those barriers offers a wonderful opportunity for them to actually get what we're trying to teach them and for them to apply what we're trying to teach them. Now, over my research of this topic, because I've been fairly interested in this topic for a number of years, I've come across a lot of research, a lot of studies, but I think there are only a number of studies that actually really transfer into the classroom. So we're going to cover 4 of them today. And I've borrowed the names of these from a book that I think does a really wonderful job in explaining them in just a pithy fashion. And that's from a book called Click by Ori and Ram Brafman. So once again, what if you accelerated the speed and likelihood of the human connections that happen in your classroom? So let's go over these four conditions. The first condition that you see here is vulnerability. Vulnerability essentially says, I'm sharing personal information with you, and you're hearing personal information and sharing it back with me. And the process of interchanging that personal information invites us to get to know someone a little bit better. It's as if we're both castles with drawbridges. I become vulnerable and I let down my drawbridge. You become vulnerable and let down your drawbridge. And now we're open. Now, quite frankly, when we look at vulnerability, we think of it in a negative connotation. I'm vulnerable to attack. Someone might know too much information about me that they could use against me. But what if we looked at vulnerability in a positive way? That yes, I'm open, but now I'm open to growth. I'm open to knowing more about you. I'm open to you knowing more about me. Now, as a facilitator, I guess one of the questions is, what are some of the things that you're doing to be more vulnerable to your class? Are you sharing personal stories about yourself? Quite often, we're a little hesitant to share too personal a story. We want to keep with organizational initiative stories. But what's wrong with sharing a couple of personal stories about your use of the skills, maybe in a good way or a bad way? And what are some of the things that you're doing to promote vulnerability amongst your participants, inviting them to share personal information with each other? Let's go on to the second point. The next condition for human connection comes through proximity. Now, proximity, this sounds really similar, right, to our influencer concept of distance, and it is to a certain extent. Proximity essentially says, I am more likely to get to know you and to connect with you if we're just flat out closer to each other. Now, this doesn't mean that our participants need to sit shoulder to shoulder all day through in class. But proximity essentially says, if I'm closer to you, I am more likely to talk to you. And not about deep stuff, just about idle chatter. That me and you just having idle chatter about nothing is really promotional to our connecting human to human, person to person. So, as a facilitator, what are some of the things that you may be doing to promote proximity? Do you greet and get to know folks as they come into your class? Do you walk the room as you talk to them and try to get an opportunity just to engage in idle chatter? What are some of the things that you're doing to promote proximity amongst your participants as we're trying to get our participants to change table groups at a regular basis so that they engage in idle chatter with more people within the class? I have to say that in terms of my relationships at Vital Smarts, proximity has served one of the greatest blessings in my life to gain some very powerful friendships with people that I work with, just by officing next to them and engaging in some of the most informational chats that I've had over the last recent years. Point number 3, that is this concept of similarity, that I am more likely to connect with you if I see a piece of me in you, and if you see a piece of yourself in me. Now, similarity sometimes I think we take too far. And the element of this becoming something to help for human connection is meant for us to help people see that there's something even small that they have inside of themselves that they see in us. Let me give you an example. Research shows, for instance, that we are more likely to put away judgment against someone else even if they just share the same name as us. I meet another David, and I'm more likely to be interested in getting to know them for an extra 2 minutes beyond what I would have if their name had been John. No offense to Johns in the room, but. So what are some of the things that you may be doing as a facilitator to promote similarity between you and some of your participants? Do you get to know them a little bit better so they can have an understanding of some of the things that you like and dislike? Do you both like hockey? Do you enjoy taking walks with your dog in the park? Do you like a similar book that they do? What are some of the things that you may be doing to promote similarity between your participants? Maybe putting a little idea card of questions that they can ask each other to find similarities. As you're meeting people as they come in and you find that one individual has a problem with an organizational issue and we find that someone else on the other end of the room has the same problem, are you connecting those people together so that they can find that they share similarity? Now let's go on to the last point. The last point is a sense of team. And this is actually extremely powerful, yet fairly difficult to translate into the classroom. A sense of team, when we're talking about an environment that fosters human connection, is essentially that the group of us are against the world. It's me and you working against a common foe, or we're trying to work together to achieve a common goal. Now, in concept, that sounds all nice, but when we look at a class, once again, that's a little tough to try to replicate. Amongst participants, I think one of the quicker or more easily grasped elements of team would be putting our participants together and giving them a task to accomplish so that they could get a prize at the end of class. Okay, and that's all fine and well. But what about us with our participants? How could we promote a sense of team with our participants? I think one of the greater things that we can do with them in order to connect with them on a human level is to actually decide how are we in this class going to overcome organizational initiative, a problem that you notice that is going on within this organization. And let's work together over the next number of days or next number of sessions to actually solve that problem, that we can overcome this adversity together. And with that sense of togetherness, that also promotes human connection. I'll say about this issue of a sense of team. Some of my most deeply held friendships and people I care about the most have been those whom I have seen as being a team member. And the opportunity that I've had to be in the quote-unquote foxhole with them, working towards a common goal, has been empowering for me. And maybe that's something that we could translate within our classrooms. So my question to you is the question of what if? What if proximity, vulnerability, similarity, and a sense of team were on your side?